Yo, this is an idea dump for a video game that I would make if I had the skills for it, and I am saving this as a blueprint for future me if I decide to attempt to make this. And in my head currently I see my game as this like hard-ish type of game, like a really difficult game. Not really sure what genre it would be. It would definitely have an really gritty, depressing, like gory-ish atmosphere. Like definitely like not horror, but something like prototype game, especially the first prototype game. And I'm thinking of this like you as a player, more you play, you basically become visually become more and more horrific. And why is that is because I really like the idea of this bioengineered soldier escaping and wreaking havoc on the people who test on him, who captured him, maybe something like that. And what I would like for it to play as, or maybe play, not really play as, but play like this two options: stealth variant and up close variant. And you would either choose the stealth option or the up close option, so you cannot choose in between. So if you decide on a stealthy play style, you would continue and finish the game as a stealthy play style, and for other side is the same. Basically, if you choose the up close play style, you would continue and finish the game as this up close bruiser type ish. And that's the player. The enemies are going to be these like scientists, maybe definitely soldiers. They are fused, maybe they are mutated with something that helps them improve one or more of their abilities, as in quick reflexes, maybe stronger legs for running or something, stronger arms for defending themselves, attacking, super strength, something like that. They would be made into these soldiers, while the player is born, created already as one. And the enemies would vary between tier 1 and like maybe tier 4. So the higher tier the enemy, not only like better equipment and stronger like melee weapons, but also they can either improve their bodies or like enhance, or maybe even like look the part. Like the higher the tier, the more like disgusting and horrific they look. But yeah, that's kind of it. The game is mostly about you killing those enemies, right? And the levels you're going to do that in are, maybe I imagine them as like either not the prettiest looking, so maybe something like a destroyed laboratory, destroyed like facility, maybe like ruined skyscraper, or multiple buildings or such. Or they are these clean laboratories, clean facilities, like white walls, like mostly everything is white, and then you have some like greenery for aesthetics or something. And basically you as a player are going to paint those white surfaces red, or maybe the combination of the two. That would be nice as well. Next, the tools, the player basically mutations. Like I said, the protagonist is born this already mutated being, so maybe he looks human at first, but later he definitely won't end up a human, won't look like a human. What I imagined is the player wakes up or maybe escapes this like pod where he's being held up in, and finds out that he can transform his fingers into claws, maybe like a blade out of the wrist, or maybe like he can strengthen his bones and muscles to survive more hits take more hits or something like that. As he either stealthily kills the enemies, he unlocks the more like stealthy side of his abilities, or if he goes like up close and personal, he unlocks the more brawler, tankier side. And the point is, he has to choose which abilities he has to use. So he cannot choose in between when he evolution, like he can evolve, but this is like this rapid evolution type where it's really messy and like quite disturbing. Not really disturbing, I wouldn't want this to be disturbing, like something like necromorph or a xenomorph, something in between. Not really prototype. The prototype is definitely an inspiration, but I wouldn't really want the prototype aspects into my game. The feel, yes. The looks, like the similarities, no. The play styles are, there's two of them, and those two play styles will branch out to two more subclasses or like sub play styles that the player can choose but doesn't really have to. And the two main ones are stealthy and up close. The stealthy is obviously like the stealth one. You try to move as quietly as possible and kill enemies quietly. And the brawler-ish type, where your body is like transformed into this like bigger guy that has like reinforced arms as a default and shit like that, and he basically pummels his enemies to death. And the stealth side is basically more lanky, like his limbs are longer but thinner, so is his body, and he moves more like, not really a spider, but something like really similar. And those two playstyles, like I said, branch out to more. Lanky, the stealthy side, branches out to this like dexterous, as like this rapier type of thing, where he moves quickly, he kills the enemies quickly, but also has the escape capabilities. Dash in, kill, dash out. And the like true stealth side, where he basically sticks to the shadows at all times, no getting out, maybe to kill an enemy, but even that, like, you would rather pass by a group of enemies. And the brawler side would branch out to this bruiser-ish, like big guy that can make weapons, but like swords or spears, like tendrils that will pierce the enemies and bring them closer to him so he can finish them off. He, instead of being this slow and tanky guy, he has like some movement speed, like he can go fast if he really needs to. What I really want from this would be like a Carnage, like the symbiote Carnage, yeah, like but a bit bigger, like the build is bigger. This like true tank side, where you are like this, definitely like the 5 times larger than you were at the beginning, and like you are just beating the hell out of the enemies. Like you cannot be stopped through like ordinary means. They have to use like heavy weaponry on you, and the enemies that don't have that, they're basically screwed. You crush their skulls and shit like that. Like the whole feel of the game, I would really like one part to be this, like, not horror, but definitely the atmosphere is a bit tense since you're kind of weak, obviously. What I would like is to make the story or like the level design linear, since I don't see really any good from this type of game to be open world. Definitely not open world. Maybe branching out, sure, but not open world. The game would have multiple endings, but the endings would end up being like a good guy, sort of, maybe like a gray, and like an evil. Like you are now escaped this facility or whatever and are like wreaking havoc on the rest of the population, something like that. And the ending would basically change depending on what playstyle you ended up using. So the stealth side would get like a more good-ish type ending, while the bruiser side would like end up killing everyone at the end. And like while the endings, while I say they are good and bad, I don't really mean as in, oh, you failed, there is only one true ending. No, there's like multiple endings that can happen. Can decide on your own, oh yes, like this was the good ending because he took revenge for everything that happened to him, or maybe like, oh, he escaped, so he now lives on his own, he doesn't need anyone anymore. Maybe to some people that's like the bad ending, for some that's not as bad. Long story short, the endings would be each player can interpret the ending for themselves, basically. And that's kinda it, basically. This kind of idea dumping. I'm not even close to starting any of this. So this is basically a what if scenario. What if I decide to make this game? And yeah, I hope something would come out of this. If not a game, maybe a story I could write. But for now, that's kind of it. Thanks for listening. Stay safe.